All right, so like I said, I know we saw this the other day, but this is that first sealed door that they got to with Tut's tomb. Does anyone remember who actually discovered the tomb? What was the guy's name? Or how about the year? Does anyone remember the year? Very good, 1922. So about 99 years ago was when it was discovered. So there are four main chambers or four main rooms to the tomb. Just kind of take a look at these. You're going to see these in person here in a second. So this just kind of shows you the different layouts of the room, or the rooms, I should say. So we saw on Friday, this was Howard Carter here. And they were breaking through that first seal of this room right there, is what they were trying to get through on that side. I think we saw this one too with the two guards. Does anyone remember what this was? Where this little discoloration is? So, yeah, it's like a hidden door. Okay, remember it's nice and easy to see in this picture because it's been lightened up, it's been given color. Originally this photo was in black and white. But obviously when they first discovered this room, they would have been using torches and lanterns to see. So it wouldn't have been that obvious where this actual sealed door was. They had to be very careful with it. Does anyone remember what's in this box? Did we get to this one on Friday? Okay. So this box, we'll see a bigger picture of it here later on. This is what's going to hold his canopic jars. So those are the jars that hold some of his organs that were removed during mummification. But we'll see a bigger picture of that box later on. Now, as we go through the tomb here, you're going to see several of these number cards. Everything that was found in the tomb had to be cataloged, meaning that they assign a number to it, and everything's recorded and written down. So they'll write down, okay, number 270 was a trunk. The trunk was wood, had a rounded top, and then they would open it up and catalog anything that would have been inside of it. Yes, very much like that, yes. So, and they did that so that they can actually have a record of everything they found, where it was, that kind of stuff. It takes roughly 10 years to actually remove and catalog everything from the tomb. Okay, so it's not a fast process. If you or I had discovered it and got in there, we probably would have had our hands all over everything and been pulling stuff out left and right. Thankfully, they did not. Okay, they tried to catalog everything that was in there. So, remember that our pharaohs want to be buried with anything that they think they might need in the afterlife. Now, they're going to be buried with anything that not only they thought they might need, but they would want to have in the afterlife. So if you remember King Tut, he dies pretty young. He's about 19 or so when he dies. And looking at this picture, does anyone know what these things are here and what these are? Yeah, they're boats. Okay, so what can we assume that he must have enjoyed while he was alive? Yeah, either riding in boats or maybe fishing. But there are several of these smaller boats that were buried with him in his tomb. Now, a lot of times, things like this wouldn't be full size. Okay, so obviously you're not going to fit a full-size boat into his tomb, so they would make smaller versions of them to kind of represent the ones he had while he was alive. So there are different tombs that had like clay figurines of servants, so that the pharaoh could have servants in the afterlife. There were figurines of soldiers, so that he'd have an army in the afterlife. Okay, so just because something was big or full size didn't mean they didn't try to scale it down or make a replica that he could be buried with. So here you have some different furniture. You can kind of see a chair sitting here. This was one of those embalming tables that we saw in another picture. Yeah, right there. Yeah. I mean, push. No, they're three individual tables. Yeah. So this is that back room that you're going to see right here. When we look at it, what's it look like happened there? Yeah, it looks like either, someone's been in it and kind of went through stuff, or, what else could have happened here? What? Earthquake, maybe, sure. Maybe. Looks like a lot of clay pottery here. Oop, wrong way. Now here you have a chariot that's in different pieces and parts. There's actually two of them there. That's kind of stacked in the corner. But what can we assume about, the way things have been put in this room so far? Does it look like it's all nice and neat and orderly, or does it look like it's just kind of stacked in there? Yeah, it kind of looks like a storage unit, doesn't it? So let's put our detective hats on for a second. What can we maybe assume the reason is why all this stuff is just kind of stacked in here and not all laid out nice and neat? It was dark, okay, that might be a good reason. Well, I don't know. If I'm the Pharaoh and I think this stuff is important enough to be buried with, I probably want to make sure it's taken care of and not just thrown in there. Got robbed? Okay, yeah, maybe somebody went through it. Okay, keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. We'll go about it later. All right, so this is part of his actual burial chamber. This is after they have lifted his coffin from the sarcophagus. Now, this is not the actual mummy itself. There's actually 3 different coffins his mummy is going to be buried in. Yep, you'll see all 3 of them here in a second. So if you look here, you can kind of see there's an outer shell on this one, and then you've got an inner coffin here. But this is Howard Carter again. The mummy's inside of this. I'll show you the mummy here in a second. You're going to get to see, you'll see the mummy. All right, so at certain days and at certain times, they do allow people down into this tomb. The artifacts and things that were in there, like I said, have been removed. They've been cataloged. They're in various museums, mostly in Cairo. There's a few things that have been sent to museums in other parts of the world. But this is the actual tomb room where his mummy was buried. So his coffins would have went inside of this sarcophagus. Now you can't see it in this picture, but there is an actual coffin in here. Yes, his mummy is in that sarcophagus today. It has been removed from there various times to undergo testing and x-rays and CAT scans and stuff like that to kind of examine it. But when it's not being studied, it does go back into the sarcophagus. You can see it sitting there. Yeah, it's a sheet of plexiglass. Keep it protected. Now, the things that are painted here on the wall, we'll look at some of these later on, but they have different gods, well, God here, and gods over here, and goddesses that have been painted on the tomb walls. We'll go over them later. This is that innermost coffin. You can see where it's been inlaid with different gemstones. Now go ahead. They would have, yes. The innermost coffin is solid gold. It's very heavy. Now, this is the guy, we saw him in a couple of the videos we watched last week about the pyramids. I think he was on a CNN 10 not too long ago. Pretty much whenever you see something regarding ancient Egypt and something being discovered or studied today, this is the guy you'll see in the video. He is the head antiquities expert in Egypt today. Nope, that's his. Like I said, there were 3 coffins. This is the outermost. So this one, and actually I think, yeah, this is a better one. So these are the 3 coffins. Technically, like this one is, these 2 are what they're called gilded, meaning that they're carved from wood and given a gold coating. The innermost one is the one that was pure gold or solid gold. But the mummy would have been inside of this one here. This one would have been placed in the middle one and then inside the biggest one. So it's kind of like those nesting dolls that you'll see. Yep, those Russian nesting dolls. It's very similar to that. There's a coffin for every stage in the journey to the afterlife. All right, now this is something called the death mask. This is what would have been placed over his mummy that was made to represent like his appearance or his face. Since on the mummy the face would have been wrapped in linens, this is what was placed over top of it. Now here it looks like it's a pretty flat looking mask. It's actually kind of more of a helmet shape to it. But this was also made from gold and then inlaid with different gemstones and colored glass. So like the blue lines here, that's a blue colored glass that have been inlaid there. All right, so the next couple things are different artifacts that they've pulled through and cleaned and restored. So this is just a typical wooden chair, but just has some gold inlays to it. That was the actual golden throne. It is not solid gold. Again, it is gilded. So it's made from wood, given a gold coating, and the different little inlays and things here are different gemstones and glass. Yep, those are a pair of shoes. I bet they are. This is a bed. Yep. Well, if we go back a little bit, you'll see that's what the actual, if you look here, you'll see that's what the coffin's laying on. Well, when he was alive, probably, yes. There would have been probably a feather-stuffed mattress that went on this. That's probably what he would have slept on. Now, kind of keep note of this. I'll show you, or we'll talk about this thing later on. But it was usually buried with the mummy for protection. Same thing with this winged scarab. They were usually placed with the mummy. And then that's that box that has the canopic jars. So when he's mummified, different organs are removed from the body, mummified individually, placed in a jar, and then they're placed together in this box for safekeeping. This is gilded, so it's made from wood and given a gold coating.